My Omega nephew ran away from his marriage, and my family forced me to marry in his place. On the eve of the wedding, the groom complained. Who wants to marry a beta man who is 8 years older than herself? So I signed an agreement with him that we would divorce when my nephew came back. 2 years later, the nephew really came back. I signed the agreement, took off my wedding ring, packed my bags and left. He was looking for me everywhere like crazy. 01. Who wants to marry a beta man who is 8 years older than them? I raised my hand and was about to knock on the door when I heard this complaint coming from the room. The speaker's tone was full of disgust and disdain. Another older man said, "Your partner ran away. You have to marry him no matter how unwilling you are. Although Nicholas Ramirez is a beta, he is gentle and elegant, and he is also a university professor. His temperament is not inferior to that of an Omega. You should be respectful to him when you meet him later." My father and uncle were right next to me, and they both looked embarrassed when they heard this. I smiled nonchalantly and pushed my glasses up on my nose. Knock knock. I knocked on the door and then opened it and walked in. The Lee family father and son standing in the room were slightly startled. I greeted them with a big smile. "Anthony, Timothy, long time no see." "Nicholas, you're here?" Everyone exchanged pleasantries as if nothing had happened. Anthony introduced me. "Nicholas, this is my son Timothy, please take care of him." I slowly stole my gaze towards the person I was going to marry. Timothy, the eldest son of the Lee family, is 24 years old this year. He was estimated to be about 190 centimeters tall, wearing a striped business suit with a black shirt underneath. His muscles under the clothes were full of strength. Her appearance is also impeccable, with clear contours and deep features. The hormones are overwhelming, worthy of being an S+ level alpha. No wonder you look down on an old beta like me. I didn't care about the offensive words I just heard. I smiled at him warmly and extended my hand. "Please advise me." Timothy was stunned for a moment, then pursed his lips and shook hands with me. This was my first meeting with him. A few days later, Timothy and I registered our marriage and held a grand wedding. This wedding was originally planned for my nephew Charles Collins, but he ran away at the last minute and left everything behind to pursue his dream. The news of the marriage between the two families had already spread throughout the business community, and the arrow was on the string and had to be shot. For the sake of the family's reputation, my grandfather and uncle personally came forward and asked me to marry Timothy instead of Charles. Just because I am the only unmarried adult in my family. After the wedding, Timothy took out 2 copies of the agreement and told me righteously, "Let me be frank with you. You're not my type. My dad said that if he can get Charles back, he'll replace me with someone else. Before that, let's make 3 rules. Don't try to make a real scene with me, and don't interfere in my private affairs." I follow the good advice. No problem, that's exactly what I meant. It was not my original intention to marry him, and it would be best if we could reach a consensus. The agreement stated that as long as Charles came back, I had to sign an unconditional divorce with Timothy, and of course, he would give me financial compensation. Not bad, very straightforward. Timothy nodded with satisfaction. He was the first to sign his name and press his fingerprint. "I'll sign it first, and I'll give you the agreement for safekeeping." After saying this, he left the bridal chamber without looking back. 2 years later, half asleep and half awake, I felt itchy and prickly on my lips and face. I struggled to open my eyelids. What caught my eye was Timothy's big handsome face. He rubbed my stubble with his hands while reaching into my pajamas to knead it. "Hurry up, breakfast is ready." I impatiently pulled his hand away, turned over and went back to sleep. Timothy pressed on me and grinned. "Still not getting up? Do you need a little stimulation?" I said dazedly, "Don't bother me. I'll sleep a little longer." I have been organizing documents these days and working overtime until late every night. Timothy disagrees. "How many days have you ignored me? You promised to accompany me to watch the race today. Hurry up or I'll take off your pants." I quickly held down Timothy's hand that was pulling at my waistband. All right, I'm getting up, you let go." If he succeeds, I won't be able to do anything else today. Timothy bit my earlobe, not too hard or too light. He blew into my ear and said, "I'll let you go now, but you have to make it up to me tonight." He half dragged and half carried me to the bathroom. As usual, Timothy filled his mouthwash and squeezed his toothpaste. "Hurry up, I'll reheat the pancakes." After he said that, he ran to the restaurant. I stood in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, vaguely thinking back to the past 2 years. When we first got married, Timothy and I hated each other. Who could have thought that we would become so bored with each other now? This story begins 1.5 years ago. At that time, Timothy and I went to the neighboring city of Jiangxing to attend his grandfather's 70th birthday. Timothy drank alcohol that night, which triggered his susceptible period. He pushed me down despite my resistance. I was tormented by him for 2 days and 1 night and couldn't get out of bed. After Timothy regained consciousness, he was unapologetic and reminisced about the situation, saying he had never expected it to feel so good to be with me. I'm not a child anymore, and he and I are a legal couple. I can't just cry and accuse him of marital rape, right? I had no choice but to admit defeat. I calmly told Timothy, "This was just an accident. This kind of thing must not happen again." But he didn't take it seriously and tried to force me to submit after a few days. I retorted to him, "Didn't you say that I'm not your type and you don't want to make it real?" Timothy said shamelessly, "Just do it for your comfort no matter what you like or not. Just treat it as what you need." What he meant was that he wanted to be my sex partner, which made me really laugh and cry. I am a beta who does not care about sexual desires, and I cannot understand an alpha like him who thinks with his lower body. But no matter how I refused, Timothy kept pestering me and refused to let me go, and finally he succeeded. I have always believed in taking things as they come, and it is better to have less trouble than more. Moreover, after sleeping with him a few times, I was really a little addicted to him. Anyway, there was nothing to lose, and it was not bad to have a companion to warm my bed. Later, I accepted him reluctantly and moved into the wedding room prepared by the Lee family with him. As they got along physically, other aspects of the relationship gradually became harmonious as well. We spent more time together. It was only after half a year of marriage that we truly understood each other. I majored in archaeology and have many important ancient books and samples at home, so I never hire a housekeeper. We usually clean the school on weekends and have just a few casual meals at school during the week. Because I have irregular diet and weak stomach for a long time, Timothy learned how to make soup to regulate my body and cook my favorite dishes in different ways. I was surprised that a young master like him could cook. He said proudly, "I studied abroad before, and none of the aunties I hired could cook good food, so I learned how to cook by myself." Well, are you impressed by me? Sometimes, to add to the fun, Timothy would take me out to ski, or see the northern lights. Anyway, in the end we would just do it somewhere else. Of course, he will also cooperate with my interests. I like visiting museums, watching suspense films, and making pottery, and he will accompany me. Every morning, after he comes back from running, he prepares breakfast and wakes me up. Even though we are bed partners, the way we get along now is no different from that of an ordinary couple. But I will not forget the agreement between me and him. I always remind myself not to fall into it. Losing my virginity is not a big deal, but I must never fall into depravity in love. 03. After breakfast, Timothy and I headed to the racetrack. He used to like motorcycle racing and even formed his own racing team. One time, Timothy accidentally fell off his bike and broke his leg. At that time, I took a leave of absence to stay at home to take care of him. Timothy endured it for a week and hugged my waist and acted coquettishly. "Wife, I can't hold it back any longer, I want." I glared at him. "You big head ghost, just lie still." He begged, "Would you please sit on it?" Not good. It took him half a month to fully recover. After that, he disbanded the team and never raced again. Sometimes when Timothy got addicted, he would drag me along to watch the game. We both went to the VIP seats and sat down. The motorcycles speed along the track, creating a gust of wind as they whiz by. I have no interest in this kind of extreme sport and I kept yawning while watching it. Timothy held my fingers tightly and watched with great interest. I took out my phone with one hand and was scrolling through it when I suddenly saw a private message from my cousin. Brother, I found that kid Charles. My pupils shrank suddenly and I suddenly became alert. I subconsciously looked at Timothy beside me. He was staring at the game on the field intently. I pulled my hand away, and he turned around and asked me, "What's wrong?" "Toilet." I stood up and he followed suit. "I'll accompany you." "No, I know where it is. Just keep looking." The race has entered its final lap and the drivers are ready to sprint. Timothy didn't insist and sat back obediently. I quickly walked to a quiet corner and called my cousin. After the call was connected, I asked briefly, "Where's Charles?" The cousin chattered. That brat wanted to pursue his dream of becoming a singer, but he was cheated out of everything and ended up singing in a country bar. He was found by my father's people 2 days ago, and his father and dad went to arrest him personally. He should be back today. My heart was shocked. Today? Yes, his family felt ashamed and didn't tell anyone else. I also told you without telling my father. I had mixed feelings. I knew Charles would come back sooner or later, but I didn't expect it to be so sudden. My cousin was still talking nonstop. That guy has caused you so much trouble. You are a bachelor, but you were forced to marry the difficult young master of the Lee family for him. What a scrambled egg thing. Don't let him go when he comes back. My ears were ringing and I couldn't hear what he said. I absent-mindedly said, "Thank you for telling me," and hung up the phone. There was thunderous cheers in the stadium and the audience seats. The game was over. My heart sank inch by inch. Charles's return means that the promise between Timothy and I must be fulfilled. Haven't I been mentally prepared for this? Why am I feeling so depressed right now? I walked back in confusion. I walked to the corner and suddenly heard a burst of sobbing. I paused and poked my head out from the corner. A handsome alpha in a racing suit stood face to face with a slender beta. Beta's shoulders heaved and he hung his head and sobbed. I recognized them. The alpha was called Aaron, a well-known racing driver, and his boyfriend was a beta. Timothy and I came to watch the game before, and they came over to say hello, saying that they would take us as their goal and overcome difficulties to achieve success. Aaron said helplessly, "My family has always been against our relationship. My dad told you that if you could get pregnant, he would consider letting me marry you. But it's been 3 years and there's still no news about your pregnancy. I can't do anything." Beta said hoarsely, "You said that you only love me as a person and you don't care whether I have offspring or not. That was in the past. Things have changed now. Don't listen to anything inappropriate. Although I am curious, I don't want to eavesdrop." I was about to walk away when I saw a cute Omega jogging towards me. Omega yelled, "Husband." 04. He grabbed the arm of the racing driver Alpha and shouted at Beta unhappily, "Why did you come to see Aaron? Don't you understand that we should part ways amicably? Do you really want me to say something unpleasant?" Beta stared at the Omega in a daze. "Aaron he is." Aaron scratched his face in embarrassment, and the Omega proudly declared his sovereignty. "I'm Aaron's fiancé. Our parents have already met each other. Please have some self-awareness. A beta who can't lay eggs actually wants to marry an alpha. Are you trying to make him exterminate his offspring?" Beta was shocked. He asked Aaron in disbelief, "Aaron, is what he said true?" Aaron uttered an almost inaudible "hmm." Beta stumbled back a few steps, covering his mouth in humiliation and walking away. Aaron watched him go with embarrassment, but ultimately did not catch up with him. The Omega held his hand and acted like a spoiled child, threatening him not to rekindle his old relationship with the Beta, so Aaron had no choice but to comfort him. After they all left, I stayed there for a long time. Doesn't the scene I see before my eyes exactly correspond to the situation between Timothy, Charles, and me? To outsiders, AB love is such an unbearable existence, and being a beta means harming others to the point of extinction. I took off my glasses with a wry smile and rubbed my nose. I took a deep breath to make sure I was calm. I returned to the VIP seat with a normal expression on my face, and Timothy happily told me that the team he supported won. I smiled and said, "That's good." Timothy hugged me and said, "We still have time later, shall we go to the museum? It looks like there will be a new exhibition this weekend." I shook my head. "No, I'm a little tired." "I am really tired." I used to stay up late without feeling tired, but now I can't stand it after a few days and I just can't muster the energy. Time is merciless and there is no way to refuse to accept the fact that you are getting old. Well, after dinner, let's go back to that private restaurant you like, right? Okay, all is fine. The private restaurant is not big, the environment is quiet, and the owner is a beautiful Omega. The boss came to serve us the food himself. I saw his slightly bulging belly and said hurriedly, "Boss, you should have a good rest. We are all old friends now." The boss smiled shyly. "It's okay. This is my third child. I'm used to it. Just take your time eating." After he left, I looked at his back thoughtfully. Timothy served me some boiled fish fillet. Seeing that I didn't move my chopsticks, he asked, "What's wrong?" I looked at him slowly. Timothy is 26 years old this year, which is the best time of his life. He is also the eldest son in the family, and it is impossible for the Lee family not to want an heir. I asked deliberately, "Omegas are all fertile, so pregnancy is easy for them, right?" Timothy rested his chin on his hand and looked at me, winking at me erotically. "What? Are you jealous? Then I'll work harder tonight." I burst out laughing. "Don't waste your energy. I'm just a beta." "What's wrong with beta? If you do it right, you will definitely get pregnant." He added, "But seriously, we do this every day. If you were an Omega, you would have had 2 babies in 3 years. I raised my eyebrows and said self-deprecatingly, "Unfortunately, I'm not an Omega." It's not that beta is absolutely incapable of getting pregnant, but the chance is too low, and the offspring born may not necessarily be alpha. Just like Aaron and the others, miracles don't happen to everyone. He didn't know what was in my heart, he just urged me. "Alright, forget about that. Eat quickly. It will taste fishy if it gets cold." I had no idea how to eat, but I had already made up my mind. No flower stays red forever, and no person stays good forever. The dream is over, it's time to wake up. That night, Timothy pressed me greedily, and I responded even more enthusiastically than usual. "This is the last time, keep it as a memory." The next day, Timothy made an appointment with his partners to play golf. He originally asked me to go with him, but I made an excuse to decline. I made an appointment with the moving company last night. After the staff arrived, it only took them an hour and a half to help me organize all my belongings and pack them up for takeaway. I took the agreement out of the safe. Timothy's signature and the bright red fingerprints dispelled all the reluctance in my heart. 05. He was so decisive when he signed, so I have no reason to hesitate now. I picked up the pen, signed my name with a flourish, and then stamped it with my fingerprint. I placed an agreement on Timothy's desk in his study and took off the platinum ring on my ring finger and placed it on the document. I looked at the time and Timothy wouldn't be back until the afternoon. I ran away without saying a word. What would be his reaction? Will he be reluctant or angry? I shook my head at my own self-conceit. What Timothy originally liked was the soft and cute Omega. The reason why he accepted me, a beta old man, is simply because I am within his reach and it would be a waste not to take advantage of me. Why should I bring humiliation upon myself? I admit that I once had unrealistic fantasies about Timothy, thinking that besides venting his desires, he also had some genuine feelings for me. But the reality is, not only am I older than him, I'm also a beta who has trouble getting pregnant, and the marriage was forced by the situation. Now that Charles, the real boss, is back, I'm not going to sit there and do nothing. I haven't completely gotten over it yet, and I don't want to hear any news about them for the time being. I have planned everything out. I will send an email to the school leaders and apply for all the annual leave accumulated over the years in one go. At 3 p.m., Timothy sent me a message. "Wife, shall we eat at home or out tonight?" The word wife is so eye-catching. From now on, his wife will be Charles. I responded to him calmly. "You can eat with your friends, no need to rush back." He asked me, "But aren't you bored at home alone?" I didn't reply to him. I changed my phone card and sent messages to my family using the new number. I told them that I was going on a trip and asked them not to contact me during this period. Then I packed my bags and drove away alone. I plan to visit those ancient villages that are not under protection so that I can conduct academic research and change my mood. I drove for a whole day and stopped at a hotel to rest. In the evening, my dad called. He asked right away, "Didn't you tell Xiao Ting that you were going on a trip?" Suspect. "What happened to Timothy? He's been looking for you everywhere. He's going crazy. What's going on between you two? Did you have a fight?" I rubbed my eyebrows. "Charles is back. Have you heard?" "It seems like I'm back." "No, what does this have to do with you and Xiao Ting?" I said seriously, "You tell Timothy that Charles is back and we should fulfill our promise, and he will understand." "What agreement?" "Call him right now and talk to him in person." I said tiredly, "Dad, I've been driving all day. I'm so tired, let's not talk about it for now." I hung up, turned off the phone and went to sleep. The next day, I contacted my junior from college. My junior is also a beta. His name is Alexander Gray. Alexander currently has a private studio and has a lot of free time. When he learned that I was going to investigate the ancient village, he immediately offered to join. I met Alexander in town, and he was thoughtful enough to hire a guide to take us into the village. I thought the tour guide would be an elderly local, but unexpectedly he was a young and handsome alpha. "Hello, Nicholas, you can just call me Joseph." Joseph smiled brightly and shook my hand warmly. I smiled politely and responded, "Hello, please advise me." Alexander told me, "Joseph has been working as a local tour guide. With him, we can avoid many detours." Since Alexander has arranged everything, I have no objection. The village has inconvenient transportation and can only be entered on foot. Joseph was leading the way in front, and when we reached a rugged section, he considerately turned back to help me. 06. Alexander teased him. "Joseph, why are you only supporting Nicholas and ignoring me?" Joseph's dark face flushed slightly, and he quickly reached out his hand to him. Alexander waved his hand and said, "I'm just kidding. I'm always out and about, not as polite as my senior. Just take care of him." Arriving at the village, I felt like I had opened the door to a new world. There is a tranquil and ancient atmosphere everywhere, and various buildings have a history of hundreds of years. The villagers looked at us outsiders with curiosity, and Joseph communicated with them in the local dialect. The enthusiastic villagers quickly welcomed us and allowed us to visit the house. I was busy filming and recording videos, there was no signal in the village, and my phone didn't ring for most of the day. In the afternoon, we returned to town for dinner. I haven't had a drop of water since this morning, and even though I see a table full of delicious food, I still have no appetite. Joseph asked me, "Nicholas, is this dish not to your liking?" I said insincerely, "No, it may be that I am not used to the local climate. My stomach is not used to it. I have been feeling bloated and having acid reflux these past 2 days." I forced myself to drink a bowl of soup and eat a few bites of vegetables. While I was eating, my cell phone rang. I picked it up and checked, and the IP address was a mirage. Is it someone from home calling? I pressed the answer button. "Hello? Where have you been? I can't get through on the phone." Timothy's voice was anxious and angry. I immediately picked up the phone and answered it. "Oh, the signal is bad, what's wrong? I was about to ask you, what are you doing? Why are you suddenly going on a trip? If you want to travel, tell me. I can take a leave to go with you." Timothy fired off a barrage of messages. I wondered if he didn't understand the situation, so I calmly told him, "Anthony, my nephew Charles is back. According to the agreement, our marriage is over. I have already entrusted a lawyer to go through the process. We can get a divorce certificate when he returns." Timothy was silent for a few seconds, then burst into an angry roar. "What are you talking about? You want to divorce me? You want to divorce me? Explain yourself clearly." I frowned and moved the phone away a little, then pressed my tragus and rubbed my ear hole. Why did he react like this? I just felt confused. After Timothy finished yelling, I continued, "Anthony, you were the one who drafted the agreement and signed it first. We agreed that we would divorce when Charles came back. Don't tell me you forgot." Timothy on the other end of the phone stuttered. "But I said in a businesslike tone. Please pay the compensation Anthony promised as soon as possible. I have other things to do, so I won't talk about it for now. I ended the call and Timothy called again. I answered the call angrily. Anything else? Timothy changed his tone. Honey, did I do something wrong to make you angry? Why do you still call me wife? I patiently explained. You did nothing wrong, and I'm not angry. I'm just fulfilling my promise. Also, don't call me your wife. Charles should be. As I was talking, Alexander came running over and called me. Senior, do you want to go tomorrow? He was halfway through his speech when he noticed I was on the phone and quickly closed his mouth. Timothy heard his voice, and he became furious again. Who are you with? Which guy? He's my junior from university. I was halfway through my sentence when I realized that I didn't need to explain to him, so I changed my tone. This is my personal matter. It has nothing to do with Anthony. Nicholas. Timothy hadn't called me by my full name for a long time. His voice sounded like it was about to spit fire. You dare to cuckold me? I will never forgive you. Crazy. It was really hard to explain to him. I hung up the phone decisively and I won't answer his call again. 07. In the afternoon we continued to another village. I didn't eat much at noon, and after walking for a while I started to feel dizzy and had chest tightness and nausea. I didn't want Alexander and the others to worry, so I forced myself not to say anything. As a result, I almost collapsed when I returned to the hotel. I fell asleep immediately and couldn't get up even if it was thundered. I don't know how long I slept until I was woken up by a deafening knock on the door. I half closed my eyes in confusion. The room was bright, and I looked at the phone next to my pillow. It's already 10 o'clock in the morning. I overslept. I was so frightened that I woke up immediately. The knocks on the door continued, accompanied by Alexander's anxious calls. Senior, what's wrong with you? Senior, I said, coming, while getting out of bed and putting on my slippers. As soon as I stood up straight, I suddenly felt dizzy and the world was spinning. I hurriedly held onto the bedside table. Hypoglycemia? I wondered. I finally recovered, put on my glasses and opened the door. I'm sorry I was about to apologize to Alexander when I suddenly saw Timothy with a gloomy face behind him. My heart skipped a beat. Damn it. Why is he here? Timothy's hair was disheveled, his eyes were bloodshot, and the stubble on his chin hadn't been cleaned yet. He looked like he had been up all night. I took a breath and was about to speak when Timothy pushed Alexander away and rushed towards me. He pushed me into the room, and Timothy closed the door with his backhand. The door locked automatically with a click. Alexander shouted from outside the door. Senior, I've explained to your husband that we are just ordinary friends. Please let him calm down. No one in the room spoke first. Timothy's eyes were fixed on me like a hunter staring at his prey. I was originally quite confident, but when he stared at me, I started to feel guilty. I tried to calm myself down, avoiding his gaze and walking to the small table to pour some water. Why is Anthony here? Timothy's voice came out from between his teeth. Come back with me. I took a few sips of warm water and gently put the cup down. I made it very clear on the phone yesterday. Timothy came up behind me, held my shoulders and turned me to face him. That's a shitty agreement. That was 2 years ago. I tried to shake off his hand, but he wouldn't let go. I smiled bitterly. Anthony is a businessman. Please abide by the spirit of the contract. Fuck the spirit of the contract. He said arrogantly, don't even think about leaving me. Since you married me, you will always be my wife. Timothy came to see me in person, which really proved that he had me in his heart. But this was not enough to change my mind. I remained unmoved and said, don't talk about forever or not forever. You can overturn what happened 2 years ago, but you will change after a few years. I won't. I have never fallen in love with anyone else, but I will never change my mind towards you. His eyes were burning and his expression was urgent. I said calmly, Anthony, I'm 34 years old now. I'm not a young man who doesn't know much about the world. I've seen too many examples where marriages lasted until the end, not based on love, but on conscience. Timothy was shocked. Are you saying I have no conscience? I didn't. I shook off his hand that was pinching my shoulder and said in a strong voice, I'm a beta who has trouble conceiving. Even if you don't marry Charles now, there will be many omegas to choose from in the future. The Lee family elders asked you to marry me just to buy time. They didn't intend for me to destroy your family line. Our marriage was wrong from the beginning. Timothy excitedly said, That's right. Don't tell me about the infertility. I only need you. I think of what I saw at the racing club. Didn't Aaron think the same thing at first? But he still lost to reality in the end. My heart is as solid as a rock. People change. Don't be so sure. We are separating now to stop the loss in time. It is better to suffer a short pain than a long one. Instead of tearing each other apart in the future, it is better to keep each other's dignity. Seeing that I was not convinced, Timothy clenched his fist and gritted his teeth and said, In short, you are determined to leave me, right? I am just following your original plan. Before I could finish my words, Timothy suddenly grabbed me by the waist. I felt dizzy and he lifted me onto his shoulders. Zoe, what are you doing? Let me go. I stretched out my arms and held his broad back with both hands in an attempt to resist, but Timothy controlled me with one hand. Since you won't leave obediently, I will carry you back, he said without hesitation and opened the door. Timothy ignored Alexander's surprised expression and walked away. Alexander was so scared that he stuttered, Senior? I asked him for help. Alexander, help me. Alexander had no choice but to run to Timothy and stop him. Mr. Koji, calm down. Let's talk it over nicely. Timothy said arrogantly. This is my family affair. Outsiders had better not interfere. Alexander was at a loss, so Timothy walked around him and continued walking. My glasses fell off as I struggled. I beat Timothy hard and continued to call. Put me down. You have no right to force me. Let me go now. Just as Timothy was about to go downstairs, a dark shadow suddenly flashed by. With a bang, the intruder punched Timothy. Timothy staggered and put me down. As soon as my feet touched the ground and I hadn't even stood firmly, Timothy pulled me behind him. Timothy started fighting with the intruder, and then I saw clearly that it was Joseph. Timothy, stop it. Alexander also ran over to stop them, but the two of them were so bloodthirsty that they wouldn't listen at all. Alexander and I, with our small bodies, couldn't stop them at all. Two tall and strong alphas were fighting in the corridor, and the scene soon attracted the hotel staff. What happened? Stop hitting me. Stop it now. Everyone worked together to pull the two apart. I held Timothy's waist and pulled him back, while Alexander helped push Joseph away. Timothy pulled me into his arms and asked through gritted teeth, Don't tell me, this is also your junior? Joseph on the other side stared at him breathlessly. I lowered my voice. This is the tour guide. Can you please stop making trouble? Timothy hugged me tighter in protest and gave Joseph a warning look. Someone asked, Should we call the police? Alexander hurriedly explained. No need, we all know each other. It was just a misunderstanding, sorry to cause trouble to everyone. I also helped to apologize. Finally, Joseph was persuaded to leave by Alexander, and I pulled Timothy back to the room. This commotion actually helped me escape from my predicament temporarily. Timothy had many bruises and scratches on his face. I couldn't just leave it alone, so I had to borrow a medicine box from the waiter. He sat on the edge of the bed, and I leaned over and took a cotton swab dipped in iodine to disinfect him. Timothy put his arms around my waist and pinned me to his lap. I sat on his lap and asked unhappily, Can you be more honest? He said as a matter of course. Isn't this position just right? You don't have to bend over so hard. As Timothy spoke, he bent down and kissed my neck. I pinched the tip of his ears and pulled him away. Get out of the way. The medicine hasn't been applied yet. He suddenly thrust his hips up and pushed me. I let out a low cry and only then did I notice the changes in his body. I was both angry and amused. What are you doing? My wife is so beautiful even when she's mean to me. He reached out and ruffled my bangs. I waved his hand away. Don't call me that. I'm going to shout. Wife, wife, wife. You are my wife. He shouted many times in a row as if he was going to compete with me. I didn't dare to provoke him again, lest he go crazy and carry me away. I just kept my mouth shut. After applying the medicine, Timothy still forced me to sit on his lap. He hugged me and buried his face in my chest and rubbed it. "Wife, please don't leave me. I really can't live without you." This is his usual trick. He starts by being aggressive and scares me, then starts by acting coquettishly and showing weakness. Use both soft and hard tactics until I give in and surrender. This is how I was taken advantage of by him in the past. We can't let him succeed this time. I interrupted. "Have you seen Charles?" Timothy raised his head, resentment in his eyes almost overflowing. "Why did you mention him? Why should I see him?" 09. "Charles is a first-rate beauty. Perhaps you would like his type, Just as I was about to start talking, Timothy blocked my lips tightly. He nibbled and sucked as if to vent his anger, and his big hands held the back of my head to prevent me from dodging. My lips were numb and swollen from his biting and I couldn't breathe, so he kindly let me go. He put his nose against mine and said with an unsteady breath, "Don't say that again. You are my only wife, and she will always be my only wife. I don't give a shit whether she is beautiful or not." I was dizzy, but I couldn't help but remind him. "Only an omega can give birth to excellent offspring for you." Timothy pushed me over onto the bed and pressed all over me. He unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his muscular body. Timothy still had wounds on his face and his eyes were wild. When he looked down at me, I completely lost my resistance. I shook my head and begged him. "Don't." He murmured. "You always say things that make me angry, so you have to shut it up." I didn't have a chance to speak again after that. The whole day passed in a daze. The next day, Timothy refused to leave and stuck to me like a sticky candy, so I had no choice but to take him with me on the archaeological expedition. I told Alexander helplessly, "Alexander, I'm so sorry." Anthony insisted on joining. Alexander glanced cautiously at Timothy behind me and said with a smile, "It's okay. More people means more care." After a while, Joseph came to join us, and the two alphas were on edge as soon as they met. Even though I couldn't smell the pheromones, I could feel the change in the atmosphere. These two people are competing secretly. I whispered to Timothy, "Don't cause trouble or I won't take you with me." Timothy didn't reply. He suddenly came close to me and pecked me on the mouth in front of two strangers. Alexander and Joseph's eyes widened, and I jumped away from him in embarrassment. Alexander continued to ease the awkward atmosphere. Senior and Anthony are so loving, everyone is envious." Timothy acted like a big shot, and I was almost too embarrassed to face anyone. The place we are going to today is even more remote than the village we went to yesterday, and it is said that no one lives there anymore. I walked for a while and started to feel dizzy and out of breath again. Before Timothy came, I just endured the discomfort, and even when Alexander asked me, I pretended that nothing was wrong. But today, Timothy noticed that I looked unwell and asked me what was wrong, and I admitted it immediately. "I feel dizzy and want to vomit." Without saying a word, Timothy helped me to rest under the shade of a tree, gave me some water to drink, and fanned me. When I have someone I trust by my side, I don't want to act stubbornly anymore. I didn't want to waste time, so I told Alexander guiltily, "Alexander, I'm sorry, why don't you guys go first? I'll catch up with you guys after I rest." Alexander nodded and set off ahead with Joseph. As soon as they left, Timothy held me in his lap. "You look terrible. If you feel unwell, let's go back first." I glanced at him. "You made me sleep poorly last night." Timothy said cheekily, "I've been hungry for 3 days, so of course I have to eat to make up for it. Can you think of something else?" "I can't think of anything else except you." Timothy grabbed my hand and pressed it against his chest, saying affectionately, "I love you so much that I'm about to lose my mind, and you still don't believe me." It was not too corny. My face turned red and I pulled my hand back. "Come on, you're just good in bed, otherwise why would you be interested in a beta man like me who's 8 years older than you?" Timothy quit. "It's true that you're very cooperative, but I've had my eye on you for a long time. I did it on purpose the first time." I squinted sharply. What do you mean by intentional? Timothy hugged me and confessed. I've wanted to sleep with you for a long time, but you always avoid me and don't come home at night. I'm really at a loss. Didn't we go to Jiangqing to attend my grandfather's birthday party? I was susceptible to the disease at night. Actually, I took medicine in advance. I know you are a soft-hearted person. You will definitely not stand idly by when you see me in pain. I was so furious when I heard this that I twisted his ears angrily. So you've been plotting against me? Who made you so seductive? Timothy said shamelessly. Even though you don't have any pheromones, you're so alluring. Your waist is thin and your butt is nice, and your smile is pure and sexy. I get a reaction when I hear you speak. You're a fairy born to seduce me. I really didn't know whether to be angry or laugh. Timothy held my waist and tried to persuade me. Honey, let's make peace, okay? I admit that I was too mean in the past. I shouldn't have looked down on you. Please don't leave me. I tried to stay awake. It's not the same thing. Alpha and beta won't have a good ending. Timothy interrupted me. To put it bluntly, you just lack a sense of security. How about this? I will transfer all my shares to you when I return. If I ever do anything to let you down, I will be left with nothing. I began to waver. Don't be ridiculous, that's all your family's property. Aren't all mine yours? As I was speaking, I suddenly felt the whole ground shaking, followed by a crackling rain of stones. I looked up and saw gravel mixed with dust rushing down the hillside nearby. It's a landslide. Before I could react, Timothy had already picked me up and ran at full speed. The mudslide was chasing us like a roaring beast, and I couldn't open my eyes because of the rolling dust. Timothy suddenly fell forward and I was dizzy. It was pitch black. Liquid dripped on my face. I closed my eyes and subconsciously reached out to touch it. My hand felt wet, hot and sticky. I rubbed my fingertips together. It's blood. I suddenly opened my eyes. Timothy was above me with rocks and sand weighing down his body, but he still struggled to hold up his arms and provide me with a safe corner. Blood flowed down Timothy's face. He closed his eyes in pain and his whole body trembled from exhaustion. He gritted his teeth and said tremblingly, "Get out now." I turned over with difficulty and crawled out. I climbed out of the pile of dirt and rocks and was about to turn back to rescue Timothy. Suddenly there was a loud bang, and the place where Timothy was propping up fell down. "Shou Tsao!" I screamed heart-wrenchingly. I knelt down desperately and dug with my bare hands. In the distance I heard the shouts of Alexander and Joseph. "Senior! Anthony! Nicholas!" I cried. "He's buried underneath. Come quickly!" 2 people came quickly and dug with me. The gravel rubbed my fingertips, but I didn't even notice it. Timothy can't die. He can't die. This was the only thought that filled my mind. Soon, Timothy's upper body was exposed, but he didn't react. We worked together to drag him out and laid him flat on the grass nearby. Timothy fell unconscious due to suffocation. Joseph lay on his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Joseph's face changed drastically and he said, "Oh no! He has a cardiac arrest." My head buzzed and I almost fainted. 11. Alexander was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. He took out his mobile phone to call for help, but the signal was too poor in the mountainous area. He could only hold up his phone and look for a signal everywhere. I fell down next to Timothy. If anything happened to him, I wouldn't want to live anymore. This thought filled my mind. No, I have to hold on. I took a few deep breaths and forced myself to calm down. I remembered the first aid skills I learned in school. If the patient has cardiac arrest, then CPR must be performed. I overlapped my hands and interlocked my fingers, straightened my elbows, used my waist to drive my arms, and pressed vertically with my palms on the middle and lower part of his sternum. Timothy's chest was shaking violently from being pressed. Then I opened his airway, cleared the dust in his mouth and nasal cavity, pinched his nose and blew air into his mouth to perform artificial respiration. After performing 2 sets of artificial respiration, continue with CPR. My arms were numb from exhaustion, but I couldn't stop. 3 minutes later, Timothy was resuscitated. He coughed a few times and began to breathe on his own. Joseph and Alexander were delighted. There's a reaction. I've saved you. My tense nerves relaxed instantly. I suddenly felt dizzy. Bang! I fell down and completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, it was already 5 hours later. I was lying on the hospital bed receiving in-4 drip. Timothy sat beside me holding my hand, his head bandaged. I spoke weakly. Are you okay? I'm fine. I've had a full body checkup. I just have a little skin break on my head. It's nothing serious. Timothy touched my forehead lovingly. As expected of a gifted alpha, he recovered his strength so quickly, I thought enviously. But he encountered all this because of me. He could have sat comfortably in his office. Timothy murmured, "Have a good rest and stop running around." Really, you are still doing this even when you are pregnant? I was still daydreaming when the word, child, suddenly hit my eardrums. I looked at him in astonishment. What child? Timothy put his other hand on my lower abdomen and frowned. The doctor checked our child and found that he was 5 weeks pregnant, and you were carrying him around everywhere. The doctor said that fortunately the child is strong, but you have to be more careful in the future. This thing is so magical that I feel like he is teasing me. Are you serious? I'm pregnant. I'm at this age and I'm still a beta. How can I believe it? The ultrasound showed the gestational sac. How could it be fake? Timothy said smugly, "Humph, do you think I'm a vegetarian? You don't sleep in vain." He is still boasting. I can't listen to him anymore. I swear, I never dared to dream that I would get pregnant with Timothy's child. So I had a loss of appetite, felt sleepy and dizzy a while ago. Are they all reactions to pregnancy? I thought I was getting old and my health was getting worse. Timothy kissed the back of my hand and said in a pretentious tone, "Do you still dare to play dribble and run with me? I will chase you back to the ends of the earth." My eyes are hot. The scene of Timothy falling unconscious is still vivid in my mind. I almost lost him forever. Now not only is he out of danger, but God has also given me such a big surprise. All the good luck has fallen on my head. How can I dare not be satisfied? With tears in my eyes, I held his hand. I'm not running anymore. I'm not going anywhere. Even without the child, I would never leave Timothy again. In such a critical situation, he risked his life to save me. I will never doubt his feelings for me again. Even if the enthusiasm fades in the future and everything returns to dullness, I have enough courage to face it.